Electronic Arts revealed the next Battlefield game a few days ago, along with info about it being set in a modern theater of war and getting back to the basics that Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 established. Since that reveal, they've divulged even more tasty details, leakers have revealed additional info, and the community has decoded some of the upcoming game's concepts. Let's get into it. So since the reveal, EA has held an Investors Day conference detailing their plans for the next fiscal year with a big emphasis on generative AI tools. EA demoed a level generator that uses AI to construct the geometry and then change the game rules on the fly just by giving it simple text commands. It's impressive stuff, especially with being able to change game rules by just saying things like only grenades can do damage and then watching it apply that rule set without having to enter a single line of code. But like a lot of AI demonstrations, it wasn't shown in a more practical situation as the maps were constructed purely with boxes instead of something that looked like a, normal Battlefield map. And it's hard to know if these tools are being shown off as a marketing for Battlefield itself or just for games that EA is making in general. The weapon models and animations do look like a preview of what's to expect from the next Battlefield game though. The fidelity of the models and the style of their animations suggest that they're either assets from the next Battlefield or just leftover assets from previous games. Either way, it's likely that the demonstration was running on the latest version of Frostbite, which is the same engine DICE will use for Battlefield. EA has made it quite clear that they want a Battlefield universe of games and content, and this model of user-generated experiences could lead to that golden formula of never-ending content if it's implemented correctly. That said, I'm not overly hyped yet because Battlefield Portal really fell quite short of the mark that I think EA was aiming for, and this feature strikes many of the same notes. User-generated modes and custom settings leading to an infinite replayability system that just kind of was lackluster with 2042, so hopefully this is better implemented if it's going for the next Battlefield game. As for the rest of the Investor Day event, EA confirmed several key details. DICE is primarily developing the next Battlefield's multiplayer. Criterion, the other studio, is working on both a single-player experience and multiplayer. Motive, who recently handled the Dead Space remake, are working on single player, and Ripple Effect, aka the Battlefield Portal devs, are creating a new Battlefield experience. And leaks suggest some pretty bold stuff about that last bit, but I'll circle back to that in a moment. EA's Brian Beattie, general manager of the Battlefield franchise, said investors and players can expect a connected universe set in a modern day filled with Battlefield experiences, and that daily playtesting has been happening internally for the past year with a community-driven test program planned for next year. During the presentation, EA also showcased two new pieces of concept art, one of tanks approaching a mountain range and another showing a helicopter hovering in a dense urban environment. The original piece of concept art is suspected to be Gibraltar, a city on the southern tip of the Iberian Peninsula, and further leaks allege that this suspicion is correct. Gibraltar has a rich history as a military strongpoint. It oversees access to the Suez Canal, and both Gibraltar and Suez have been featured in past Battlefield games. A post on Reddit suggests the image of the helicopter in a dense urban area could be set in Egypt or generally in North Africa somewhere. And the final image of the tanks, as far as I can tell, hasn't been identified with any particular degree of accuracy. The now notorious Battlefield leaker Tom Henderson, who runs the Insider Gaming website, wrote an article alleging several key details about the upcoming game. He says the new Battlefield experience in development at Ripple Effect is a free-to-play battle royale that will tie into the next Battlefield's premium release. So similar to Call of Duty, where Warzone serves as the battle royale extension of the IP. A tropical location in the United States may serve as the setting for this battle royale mode. To add some credibility to these claims, Brian Beattie, who confirmed Ripple Effect are working on a new Battlefield experience, previously oversaw the production of Call of Duty Warzone. So it certainly wouldn't be a surprise. In fact, it's to be expected that his hiring 3 years ago by EA is specifically to oversee something very similar to Warzone. Henderson also claims the game is set between 2027 and 2030. The campaign may feature an open conflict between a private military group fighting NATO. As for multiplayer, Henderson indicated DICE are aiming for 45 unique weapons and 10 multiplayer maps at launch. It will supposedly feature a major overhaul to destruction with caliber-based destruction, changing how much destruction is inflicted on surfaces based on the ammo it's being shot with. The ability to pick up or move down players shown in Battlefield 5's initial trailers may be coming as a mechanic in Battle Royale and the traditional multiplayer. Features like improved destruction and soldier dragging are supposedly happening due to an internal initiative at DICE to bring back Battlefield moments that encourage sandbox behavior in multiplayer modes. Henderson's final tidbit of info suggests that the community-driven testing will be less of a beta and more of an actual Battlefield CTE program that gives players a chance to try in-development content rather than hands-on with vertical slices of the game. And we've seen echoes from other devs involved with the project making reference to past games' CTE. Now, there seems to be a pretty widespread community-driven don't pre-order this next Battlefield game campaign going on, which makes a lot of sense. EA has misled their community quite a bit with the past couple of releases, and this beginning of a new hype train now that we're in the middle of, at this point feels kind of like deja vu. It's the same thing happening again, which means, is it going to release in the same similarly poor state? I don't think it will this time, but also I absolutely respect the idea and the notion of the community trying to police themselves a bit better and not get all hyped up for something that could be false promises. The big silver lining, though, that could change up this paradigm compared to the last couple of releases is that EA is pushing that community-driven testing experience, the CTE environment, or whatever they're working on, because that will actually get players in and playing the game before the launch, and that means there will be feedback, there will be public information about how the game is playing and how it's performing, and that way people aren't jumping into it more or less blind based on like a 2-day beta and then the game launching a month later or something like that. It seems like that could be a nice way to ease the player base back into trusting DICE on this next title. We'll just have to wait and see. Personally, I'm conflicted. On one hand, EA and Vince Zampella are saying all the right things. No specialists, they're getting back to the core mechanics of Battlefield. They're, at least according to leaks, having a free Battle Royale mode. These are all the things that I've wanted them to do for such a long time. So on the other hand, I'm like, is it too little, too late? Is this DICE just doing what they normally do, which is being 3 years behind the curve, catching up to Call of Duty and all the other franchises? I don't know. They have new management, new structure over there. I would assume it's going to be better because it would be pretty hard for it to be worse at this point. Vince has a proven track record, so they have a lot going for them. It's just hard to shake off that past and those feelings of what happened with Battlefield 5 and what happened with Battlefield 2042. I think I'm going to approach this next game like many of you out there with cautious optimism. Of course, I want to believe in the future of Battlefield, but I don't want to get hurt by it again. Let me know what you guys are thinking about all these details. There's a huge amount of production companies behind this next game or series of games, whatever they have planned for us. Do you think it's going to be a massive hit, or do you think this is just EA throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks? And if you enjoyed this coverage, don't forget to leave me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. And next up, check out the Level With Me podcast, the podcast where myself and Matimio discuss this and many other gaming things in more depth, make jokes. It's a good time. Check it out. You'll enjoy. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.